How to Practice Music was a book that was recently released by Andrew Eales. Obviously it's about how to practice music, but in today's video I want to talk about what I found particularly useful about the whole thing. As always, there's a few chapters to this video, so if you want to jump around, then just jump into the description below and you can click on the link and have a watch at what's useful to yourself. First thing I want to cover is who's Andrew Eales. And there's a website that I've been visiting now for years, and it's incredibly popular, called Piano DAO, or pianodao.com. Andrew does like a bunch of reviews on books, he teaches as well, and yeah, it's really been a useful website to me over the years, and you quite often see it getting mentioned in a bunch of kind of teacher forums and such like, so it's well worth a visit. How to Practice Music, it's a wee kind of pocket-sized book. It's his first publication, and he's done it through Hal Leonard. I'll leave a link in the description below. It's not an affiliate link or anything like that, but in case you're interested in buying it, I can't remember how much it costs, £8, something like that. But yeah, you can go and grab yourself a copy. The book does cover a lot of detail, and obviously I don't want to give too much away, but the sort of things that he covers are things like why we should practice, obviously, how to practice, which makes sense since it's called How to Practice Music. We've also got like tips on warming up, maybe core skills and mindful practice. Out of that list there that I've just said, there is actually more in the book. The mindful practice section is good, because sometimes what happens is we just sit down at the piano and we play in a practice session, and it doesn't help you make good progress if you just sit down and play. Sometimes it's fun to do that, and don't get me wrong, you should be doing that. However, having targeted focus and being mindful about what it is that you're actually doing is crucial to making a decent sort of level of progress. I've got a playlist on kind of practice tips, which I'll link in the card above, that you can have a wee browse through. The good thing about Andrew's book is, and it makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside, is that a lot of the stuff that he covers is stuff that I already knew, but it's always really good to reinforce the things that, having somebody else, tell you what you're doing is right is always a good thing. However, don't get me wrong, I still found the book useful because there's snippets in it that I thought, oh, that's actually quite a clever idea. So what I want to talk about is the 5 top things that I found particularly handy in the book. Quite often you'll hear people say that they don't have time to practice, and fair enough if they don't, right? However, if you want to learn how to play the piano, or any instrument really, you're going to have to make time to practice. It's just one of those things. And if you can't find 10 minutes, 15 minutes a day to learn your instrument, and that's all you really need, especially when you first get started, then you're in a tricky situation. I used to kind of struggle with time a wee bit, and I ended up reading this book called Make Time, and it's really good. It gives you a bunch of ideas on how to find time within your day, or actually make time within your day. And that's what you're going to have to do if you want to actually make progress at a reasonable pace. Then you're just going to have to put some time aside. So there's some good tips on that in the book. Second thing is practice journals. I have used this reasonably regularly. I must admit, I'm probably guilty of not using it all the time, but the good thing about having practice journals is that you can, when you're practicing, you can take a note of what you've done, and you can also take notes of things that you need to continue to work on. And when you've got those things, it means that if you've finished something already, then it means in your next practice session you probably don't have to do it again. And then the notes that you take of the stuff that still isn't quite working, that's a good way to kind of make a list of your goals for your next practice session. So that's the journal really is a good idea. Third thing is sight reading. A lot of people dodge sight reading, and then when it comes to the crunch, like if you've got to do it in a sort of public situation, or if you've got an exam coming up that requires sight reading, it suddenly becomes very nervy. Now, sight reading is something that I do with all my students on a regular basis. If they're new students and they're working their way through the book quickly anyway, they're reading every week, so that's fine. We don't particularly need to have a sight reading time. However, once you get to a stage where you're playing a piece and maybe it takes you 4 weeks to learn, or 4 months to learn, or a year to learn, then your reading skills start to drop a wee bit. So you should really go out your way to make some time to try and do some sight reading. There's loads of books on the internet that you can pick up for sight reading, so you won't be shy for it. And also sometimes I find I'm kind of lucky as a piano teacher, because I have students that come in and they want to play this and they want to play that, and they say, can we play this music? So I get to read that stuff all the time. So it's good, but definitely make time for sight reading in your sessions. The fourth thing is selecting music to play. I like to have a mix, and definitely you should speak to a teacher or a peer about getting some advice on, maybe what you should or shouldn't be playing. I mean, if you're in week 1 of piano and you're picking up Chopin etudes, then you're probably, you definitely need some advice. But it's good to talk to somebody about what you should be playing. Also have a good mix in your playing as well. You should have something, some people call them stretch pieces, where you're playing a piece and it is really pushing you technically. But then it's good to have other stuff as well that's not as difficult. And it just reminds you that you can play the piano, gives you that wee bit of a bit of a boost. So Andrew talks about how mixing these things up can really help drive momentum. The last thing that I found really useful, and I kind of mentioned to it earlier with the practice journal, is having goals. When you go into your practice sessions, don't just like open piece 1 at page 1 and start playing, unless you're doing performance practice. But generally, if I'm doing a practice session, then there will be very specific passages that I'll want to just drill for a wee while until I feel really comfortable doing it. The usual stuff, making sure you've got the fingering right, your phrasing right, your dynamics right, blah, 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 all the rest of it. Yeah, make sure when you go into a practice session that you've got goals. This is also another really good tip for if you're short of time. If you've only got 10 minutes, then you could just say, all right, I want to work on bar 76 of the Bach prelude that I'm working on, whatever it may be. And that will then help you overall make some good progress. Okay, that's all I've got. If you found this video particularly useful, I've got a playlist of stuff here that talks about apps and games and books that are worth picking up. So you should have a look through that and see if there's anything that can help you on your piano journey. All right, thanks for listening, and I'll see you later.